Welcome everyone to another powerhouse session at NestGen 2025. I'm Deep Gupta from Flightbase, and today we are talking about a game changer in security: how enterprise-grade autonomous drones are transforming aerial surveillance. Think about it. Traditional security is reactive. Cameras record, alarms sound, and then you respond. But what if security could be proactive? What if drones could autonomously detect, verify, and respond before a situation escalates? That's exactly what we're diving into today. And to break it all down, we have three industry leaders who are shaping the future of drone powered security. Chris Fink, CEO of UVT, leading the charge in making high performance drone solutions accessible to enterprises. Matt Rybar, VP of Remote Ops at UVT, specializing in scaling remote drone operations for critical security applications. And Todd Lanning, VP of Commercial Operations from Premier Security, bringing expertise in deploying drones where they matter most. Welcome, gentlemen. So, we have some housekeeping rules. Before we get into the good stuff, a quick rundown of how things will flow. You can drop your Q&A in the Q&A box anytime. Our speakers will tackle them in the last segment. The session is recorded, so if you miss anything, don't worry, you can rewatch it later. And then you can share insights, thoughts, and your favorite takeaways on LinkedIn and Twitter using NestGen 2025. All right, so let's jump in. Yeah, Matt, you can share your screen.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Deep, huge thanks for the welcome and that lovely tagline that you wrote. I got to say, NestGen and Flightbase's marketing is always on point, so it's making us look real good. Appreciate everybody being here. A little bit about UVT. So we were founded in 2014. I founded in the Orlando, Florida area. Started in the construction progression mapping area, service provider world, which I know a lot of folks that are on here are probably living in right now, maybe actually tuning in from your truck while you're out, capturing some data, doing the Lord's work. We've now shifted, and over the last 10 years, we've become one of the largest dealers to public safety, security, and all of those related industries. And so remote operations has been a huge push for us, specifically, again, speaking to public safety into the DFR, drones as first responder space. Been a longtime partner of DJI. We've got a very large physical footprint, as you can see there on the slide, all the way west to California and east to New Jersey, smattering in between, pretty heavy here in the central area. I'm based at our HQ, which is in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Mr. Rybar there that you see is up north in Michigan. We do operate a 24/7 demo site up there with, I think we've got 5 docks there, 5 or 6 docks, a couple still in crates, all kinds of cool stuff going on up there. But we offer a full service turnkey system solution platform from consulting, hardware, software, training, renting a crane to put the dock up on a roof, and then partnering for flight services, after sales support, et cetera. We do also have pilot training through one of our partners as well. So that can be a customized program for your team based off of problems that you've had, questions that you had, regulatory hurdles that you're going through, or it can be just a turnkey 107 solution as well. On the consulting side of the house, I briefly mentioned regulatory and regulations. We do offer full COA waiver writing, as well as just general site surveys, assessing an area to make sure that it's going to be suitable for whatever your operations are. In this case, dock-based drones, which of course bring with it a whole onslaught of new regulatory changes and requirements, whether that's detect and avoid systems, radar, CAS-UG, et cetera. Speaking of all those things, on the hardware and software side, we are a direct or tier 1 dealer with all of our suppliers and manufacturers. We don't just sign up with somebody who comes out with something cool. We actually buy it, we test it, we field it, we make sure it works. We work with partners like Flightbase to make sure that it's going to be integrated with software platforms out there that our users are actually using. And of course, we follow that up with post-sale support. So we do offer a 24/7, 365 omni-channel support structure. And we've been super fortunate to partner with Premier Security. Mr. Lenning's on the meeting today. And it's a perfect example of when industry on the security side or public safety side come together with UVT for that full turnkey solution. Todd?
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Deep, and the team at Flightbase for the introduction and putting this together. Obviously, the team at UVT for everything you've done for us and bringing us to the table here to have this conversation today. Premier Security Solutions was founded in 2013 by our CEO, Dave Forstick. He's retired law enforcement. We got started in the school security space in physical guard service. We started out at one local district because we all come from a law enforcement background, supporting the schools and providing that level of security that's unfortunately needed in the United States was an honor for us. And today we've expanded those physical guard services in schools, protecting more than 35,000 students across 60 schools in Southeast Michigan. But in 2020, we began to use technology to provide a higher level of security and create a more proactive approach. And we'll talk about how that proactiveness led to us being part of this conversation in the drone space and laying out how we use drones today to provide protection for our clients across the country. But we have a 24/7 global security operations center here in Michigan. Thankfully, we are here in Michigan, and because UVT has a brick and mortar location here, our connection in 2023 was really pivotal to where we're at today. But our operations center has about 150 personnel assigned to it 24/7. We watch about 4,000 cameras across the United States, monitoring them live for Fortune 500 companies, ultra high net worth families, VIP clients, school districts, box retail stores. And we've gotten really good at what we do, and that is to reduce theft, crime, and protect assets around the country. In late 2023, we took a very strategic step in trying to become a true anti-crime organization. And that led to us looking at drones as a possible solution to both protect our clients, but also protect our boots on the ground. Our numbers had increased to more than 1,400 hourly guards across the country. And with that becomes, an added threat level to our own folks. So when we approached the team at UVT through our law enforcement relationships, we quickly identified that there was an opportunity for us to partner and take to our customer a new solution that really wasn't seen in the security space. And that led to our deployment of drones, which we've done more than 6,000 flights to date in partnership with UVT, protecting our customer assets, and have had a great success at doing so. We are not reactionary, and we are always preparing to be proactive and stop potential issue before it becomes a problem, and we need law enforcement support. But today we have operations and sales in 17 states. We do remote monitoring from coast to coast, and we have 800 hourly guards and a growing drone fleet by the day. So appreciate being on the session today.
Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about flight services?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was trying to get the presentation a little bit. It timed out. So currently through the GSOC, the Global Security Operations Center, which is owned and managed by Premier Security up in Burton, Michigan, we are deploying 24/7 operations in the commercial security space for several of Premier's customers and now joint customers as well. It's interesting to see how the technology has shifted, because when this started, we were all about the DJI Dock 1, and then pretty quickly realized that the DJI Dock 2 had come out, and it was already a pretty suitable solution just with all the lessons learned. And so we do operate the DJI Dock 2 out of that GSOC. So we have UVT pilots there. They've got Premier on one shoulder and UVT on the other, and they are there as a joint representation. And all those operations are done by licensed FAA Part 107 pilots and following all applicable laws and regulations. Matt and his team, he asked me to do the talking, but he should really be the one up here pounding his chest, because he's done a fantastic job building out our remote operations team with various pieces of security, from required DAA technology, getting our waivers written for shielded operations at various sites, and things like that. If you compare, like what Todd said, boots on the ground guards are still a thing. Drones aren't going to replace those necessarily, at least not today. But having that eye in the sky, whether it's something as simple as just giving those boots on the ground extra peace of mind, being their backup, watching their corners, checking their lanes, finding things that maybe they couldn't find through thermal technology, it's a heavy lift, and there could be some significant delays with getting units on scene, whether that's a theft, a burglary, vandalism, whatever. And all of these services or flights can be scheduled either on a regular basis through full autonomous flights, or they can be flown manually. So we do a combination of both. We've got autonomous routes that we build out. There's a human, obviously, in the GSOC there that you can see pictured in the slide, monitoring that video, calling out other things. Being in that GSOC is a pretty powerful thing. You're able to immediately call out and get folks that are looking at those fixed position cameras that can, call attention to certain things, and then vice versa. They can request that a drone respond and essentially get another set of eyes, a very dynamic set of eyes on there. Matt, fill any gaps that I left behind.
No, you were spot on, and you alluded to the regulatory side that UVT and Premier have gone to an extensive hurdles really to get those waivers put in place. But really, the FAA has been so good to work with on that side of the house and enabling these operations to scale and grow. We're all very excited for what that future looks like on the regulatory side, as there are still some limitations currently to date. The technology at this point, this crossroads has far surpassed the regulatory environment. And for organizations like FlightBase and other manufacturers who are working really hard to push and integrate and really innovate that next generation of that regulatory scene, helps move that needle for us. So thanks to all the work that Deep Your Crew has been doing and others in the space to help enable this. We're excited right now to look forward to that, hopefully called Part 108, coming out sometime this year, to really look what that framework's gonna be like. But just on the regulatory side, want everyone to know that the FAA has been very good to work with here in the U.S. You can absolutely conduct these operations in a safe, legal capacity as it stands today. But if we look towards true scale and enablement in the next few years, that really will point towards that new regulation that hopefully we'll see sometime later this year. Todd, we've had a couple awesome wins in the GSOC with the team in a variety of different capacities. But would you talk a little bit about the incident back in August and what happened that night?
Yeah, we protect about $4 billion in inventory daily for some of the largest manufacturers in North America. It's no secret that there is a high threat, high crime rate of the assets that we protect every day. But by adding in the drone technology and remote drone operations, we've really been able to show the success in that. And very few times when there is a threat that occurs and there is a response by a security team, regardless of who the contractor or vendor is across North America, by the time law enforcement's contacted and authorities arrive, the suspect has fled the scene, and you're really just left to clean up the pieces and put another case file together to maybe down the road create something out of it. But this past August, we had a breach of one of our facilities by 5 suspects. It was first identified by our operations center. The drone was on a flight pattern that was away from this location at that time. But our operator called it out, and we followed our protocol absolutely perfectly in the GSOC in collaboration both with UVT and our law enforcement partners. But when this breach occurred, we were able to get the drone and our pilot to take control of that and fly the drone in order to give us visual of these suspects. Without the drone in place, flying that evening at that manufacturing facility, we would have never seen these suspects after they left the scene or walking down Schaefer Road. But we were able to call that out. You can see the suspects here in this video. They actually seem quite complacent because I think they think this is over with, but they quickly realized that we've contacted our law enforcement friends. They responded to the scene and were able to take 5 suspects into custody. What could have occurred here is these 5 suspects could have stolen $750,000 in inventory in 15 minutes. But this was a win for Team Premier, Team UVT that night. Our customer has seen this as validation in what we're doing and the proactiveness that we're able to provide. So hats off to our pilot that night and our team that was able to take a victory.
Awesome. And right alongside that, I think we've all noticed that there's an uptick in drone activity across the country, and trying to layer that level of drone detection in with these asset protection is important at a lot of these customer sites. Nefarious drone use for a lot of different purposes, including pre-scouting of sites, has started to become a reality for many in this space. And so layering in this drone detection can help that pilot, deconflict and keep that airspace safe and secure, make sure there's no in-flight incidents, but then also be on the monitoring side of the house for any activity that might be used from the drone side to pre-scout those sites. Todd, have you seen with your customers an uptick in those types of drone spottings around your facilities, and how are they reacting to that drone detection there on site?
There's certainly been an uptick in the last 6 months in our customers reaching out to us, or even our boots on the ground reporting that there's been drone sightings over any one of these facilities that we protect. In the last 30 days, we've had 4 incidents at 4 different facilities where drones were observed flying over these locations, and it quickly results in a conversation with our customers and getting them educated on what's occurring and what we can do to help detect this type of activity and protect their assets even further. So there is another whole bucket of security needs here when it comes to drone detection, and understanding that the threat is not only on the ground, it's in the sky, just like we're trying to protect it from the sky. So it's certainly of concern on our mind.
Makes sense. And from a pilot interface or pilot operation side, the pilots right now flying for Premier have that visibility of other drones in the area right in that same pane of glass and the software they're using to conduct those operations. And so I would encourage anyone looking into these types of operations to have that thought process in mind of a lot of different systems and a lot of different windows is good because the technology is helping us navigate many of these different situations. But if you look at towards technology like Flightbase and other platforms that can help bring all of that information into one pane of glass, it helps that pilot act in a much more efficient capacity. There's something with the Flightbase platform called Flinks that allow that interface to other third-party systems, whether it be drone detection or mapping softwares, which really can help you through that agnostic ecosystem of understanding that in one pane of glass. Deep, I know we have a couple questions there, Bruin, but we'll kick it back to you to throw those out to the group here.
Yeah, sure, Matt. Thank you for that. So first question is we have from Alexander Vasta, and it is, how is your team handling the cybersecurity side in the drone space?
Chris, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So specific to this, the deployments that we've talked about and Premier as our customer, we've had quite a bit of flexibility because the infrastructure that we've installed on site at these various sites, which we can't go into a lot of detail about, they're completely disconnected from that customer's network. We're not just plugging a cable in and connecting another IoT device. We have our own cloud layers on top of that. We've got, Cradlepoint and other LTE modems on board. We've done Starlink before. We have done hardwired installations outside of Premier and I think even a couple for Premier. But it all comes down to the customer's, sort of temperament and temperature in that regard. But your question, Alexander, is spot on because cybersecurity is probably the number one talking point now that regulations on the drone side are becoming a bit easier to navigate, a little bit more, commonplace, common knowledge. There are some serious cybersecurity measures that need to be taken. I was a former IT and CISO director at an FDIC regulated bank, and believe me, I've gone through numerous safety and soundness exams. And so a lot of it's just talking to the customer. Some customers have their network pretty mature that you can plug in a device and put it onto a virtual LAN network and filter all of that traffic. You can monitor international traffic. Even domestic solutions need something in between there. You need something in between that device and your actual LAN or your local area network. But specific to Premier, I could go on about this for days because I'm a super nerd, but specific to Premier, these are completely off network devices. They're still on the internet through either LTE or Starlink and other satellite technology, but they're not connected to the network. So that allowed us quite a bit of flexibility, both on the data security and cybersecurity side, but also candidly, it's really promoted us to be able to move these assets around. Premier manufactures some beautiful security trailers with also hard mounted cameras and some dock technology that we put on there. And so because it's trailer based, we're able to move those around, and keeping it off network has allowed us to do that and keep the assets and data secure.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer, Chris. So the next question that we have is, can you walk us through a real world case study? So I think Todd has already done that, where 5 people were detected and they were taken into custody later. So now, where I'm getting with the next question is, how are you planning to use AI for detecting those people? Like right now, there was an operator behind, and he was the one who spotted out that there were a few people who were traveling down the road or who were walking down the road. So how, with the newer technological advancements, are you planning to implement AI in your drone-based solutions?
So right now, and I'll kick it over to Todd here because him and I had this same conversation in another capacity just recently. But right now, UVT is working with Flightbase and other manufacturers to help add those layers into our current workflows to provide those to customers. Up till this point, the regulatory environment hasn't allowed a lot of that automation to happen. So there hasn't been a great case study around that to actually deploy some of that technology because of that pilot needing to physically be in the seat during that entire automated response. But we're seeing a huge uptick and a huge request to do exactly that. to be able to integrate AI into different aspects of the workflow to help that pilot assist them through that process of identifying potential issues, in addition to the work that they're doing on camera. But Todd, any insight on that?
Yeah, certainly in the AI space, and Matt, I don't know how much I can share here, but our customer base that is using our Dock drone services has come to realize that there's additional advantages to this when it comes to asset tracking. So our customers have recently reached out to us and said, "Hey, can we get the drone back up in the air? Can you use your technology to give us a count of a certain product and how many are potentially in a certain region?" And Matt and the team have been able to respond immediately for that because we have a pilot 24/7 in-house. When that customer call comes in, we're able to use some of this new AI technology to report back on, an inventory count, for example, and say, yeah, there's 143 units stored in this location currently. We had a recent scenario that was extremely unique where the customer reached out and had requested that we add additional flights over an area that actually wasn't within our airspace. But because of the technology on our DJI drone and the great resolution the camera provides, we were able to stay within our approved area and maintain visual of this property for over 8 hours, balancing the two drones that we had on site, and continue to update on inventory counts in that area as they dealt with a growing issue at the time. So certainly see where continued technology advancements in AI are going to add additional resources on the security front, but it may be also a position like we've seen where our customer is deploying the drone for security, but there's also a la carte added benefits that we can provide them as part of that.
Deep, we're seeing AI used on the detection side as well as even the airspace awareness side. A lot of our airspace awareness partners are now adding those different layers in. Radar companies helping with aircraft classification, things to help along with these processes of getting BVLOS waivers in the process too. And so right now you look at every aspect of this industry and it's many folks are trying to leverage AI, whether it be from the detection side on the security application or all the way through that entire workflow of different ways where we can leverage the technology, integrating those pieces together with both software and hardware to get to that full ecosystem.
Understood, Matt, and thank you, Todd, for that answer. So next question is that with remote operations becoming more prevalent in the industry, what are the biggest bottlenecks do you face, like in ensuring consistent drone autonomy and seamless fleet management? So, like, how do you maintain consistency during your operations?
So for our teams, because we already had a well-established, operating procedure for physical infrastructure that's in the field, we have a full-time logistics team, and we've partnered with UVT to increase those numbers. But because of where our deployments are across the Midwest, our 24/7 team is ready to respond at any given time if there's a battery issue or a connectivity issue. But I have to say, I have been extremely impressed with the reliability of the technology and the fact that unless it's a weather-related issue that we're not in the air, our operations have been very fluid, and there has been very few instances where we've had downtime related to a fleet issue and getting a response out there to oversee that and handle it. When we initially deployed our first drone for security operations, the only issue we ran into is realizing that really any site where you are committing to a real security presence, you have to have multiple Dock drones at that location because of flight time and downtime for recharging. You don't want to get caught in a situation where a drone is returning home because it needs to charge, but you have a legitimate security risk going on at that time. So Premier and UVT, through our work together, are committed to when we approach a customer for this, security space, that's going to come with reliability and knowing that our team and our setup is going to answer the call.
Understood. So Todd, I have just one more question for you. So how do enterprise justify the investment in autonomous drones? Like, are we at a tipping point where drones are becoming a must-have rather than a nice-to-have? What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I have no doubt that the security space for drones is going to increase substantially. And the the cost benefit to it already exists because you have to realize some of these locations where security is being paid for with boots on the ground, they're funding, 12, 24 guards per shift, 24/7 to secure a large manufacturing facility or retail space. That comes at a very high cost. But if you can deploy a drone to cover a more proactive area outside even the factory or location to call out things that aren't getting called out until they're an issue, you can now look at reducing your guards, your physical guard presence. So if you get to a ratio where you're able to reduce your guard presence and increase your dock drone presence, it really becomes cost neutral at some point. And if you have asset protection that's occurring at a level it never did before, and at the end of the year, your losses are 50% of what they were the year before, it solves itself very quickly. One thing we didn't discuss, and it's on the topic of reliability. We all have employees that work for us or with us. They call in, they don't wear their uniform of the day. We deal with it in the security industry very heavily, where a lot of security companies are thought of as a temp agency. That's not what Premier is, and that's why we committed to using technology to make sure we're on the forefront of this. But dock drones don't call in sick. They wear their uniform every day. They're ready to work. It's easy for us to put a pilot in a controlled environment in our GSOC to fly that drone. We know it's going to show up every single day. So the customer sees the results they get with that, and that we're ready to deploy at any time.
Understood. So thank you so much, Todd, for that answer, and thank you so much, Chris and Matt, for joining in. So let me just have some closing thoughts, and then we can wrap it up. So I just have a few takeaways. So drones are moving from surveillance tools to proactive security assets. So it's not about watching, it's about acting. Scaling operations is the real challenge, and expertise in deployment, remote ops, and automation is the key. The ROI is real, as Todd mentioned just now. Like they are, in some cases, drones are about to complement the security guards and the personnel, but in some cases, when the drone covers a larger area in a shorter piece of time, it can also replace them. So enterprises investing in drone security are seeing faster response times, better situational awareness, and reduced operational cost. So a huge thank you to you, Chris, Matt, and Todd, for your insights and for joining in. If you want to learn more, you can check out the UVT booth in the expo, and then we can continue to have this conversation. And enjoy the rest of the NestGen to everyone. And Matt, Chris, Todd, if you guys have any closing thoughts.
Not on this side. Thanks so much for your time, Deep, and always a pleasure, Chris and Todd, sitting on the panel with you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Same to you, Matt. Only closing thought is a lot of what we talked about is a layered approach. I don't want anybody to think that this all happened on day one. Day one, we had one dock drone out there. We had some problems because we had some gaps in coverage, and we added another layer to it. And then the regulations was another layer, and then training, and then deployments, and then drone technology, or drone detection, I should say. So it's all a layered approach. Crawl, walk, runs, really, really important when you're looking to deploy a system like what we've done for Premier. Any vendor or any manufacturer, any platform that says, yeah, we can do all that on day one, you don't need to do any of that, we can go straight to 100 miles an hour, is probably lying to you because they need some ARR. I would encourage you to slow things down and really take a holistic approach to what you've done. And that's exactly what Premier has done, because they're willing to invest their technology to better serve their customer. And I do appreciate Flightbase for inviting UVT to be a part of this. Thank you, Deep.
Flightbase UVT, thank you for the opportunity. It's been an honor to serve on this session, and we look forward to the future of security and drone space.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And you can, move on to the next session. So thank you.